All right, what's up, everyone? It's Zach, and today I'm here joined with my awesome guest, Nancy McInroy. Nancy, how are you doing today?
I am good, Zach. How are you doing? It's good to
Good.
hear your voice.
Yeah, great to hear your voice too. I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. So, Nancy is a fellow Central Michigan University graduate. Fire up chips.
Fire up chips. I love to
I
hear
love
that.
it. I love
Yes.
hearing it too. So yeah, fellow CMU grad and currently serving as the president of the National MS Society in the Greater Illinois market area. Um, so that's just kind of a quick introduction of Nancy, but do you mind telling us a little bit about your background, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would love it. Yeah, as you said, I am a very proud Central Michigan University graduate. Huge pride for the Chippewas. And when I was at Central, I always thought I wanted to go to medical school. That was kind of my dream as a kid, because even when I was a kid, it was thought of as you have to have a profession, but you've got
Hmm.
to have a profession that has a name to it. So like doctor,
Yeah.
lawyer, teacher, stewardess, when flight attendants were called stewardesses. So at Central, I thought I really want to go to medical school and be a doctor. And then this whole world kind of opened up for me when I was there. And I had a professor say, you know what, there could be more options for you. If you like health, if you like public speaking, if you like teaching, if you kind of like that world, there's more options than just going to medical school. And so I took an internship at the first place I could find because I had to have one, to
Yep.
graduate. I waited till the last minute, had to have one. I think I was down to the last week before it was, going to be big trouble for me. And I took an unpaid internship at the American Red Cross in Midland. And from there, I thought, oh my gosh, nonprofit could be a career. This is cool.
Yeah.
It was great. It was an unpaid internship. I taught CPR and first aid classes. It was also in the early '90s, so a while ago, when HIV and AIDS education was really kind of hot and at the
Hmm.
forefront. And they said, "Hey, we need somebody that would teach HIV education to the public school system in Midland. Would you do it?" And I said, "Okay, sure."
That's awesome.
So it was the greatest experience, but really from that I learned that there was so much more out there in terms of a career than just kind of those one word occupations,
Yeah.
right? Like doctor, lawyer, teacher. Um, and it opened up a whole world. And I've been a nonprofit for 26 years. This is
Yeah.
all I've ever done. I've loved every minute of it.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. And, Nancy, I think you brought up a great point that we do tend to get caught up in the title, that is associated with things like doctor, professor, whatever. And there's just so much more out there, and we don't have to limit ourselves as much as maybe our minds or society tells us we should.
Oh my, that's an awesome point, Zach, and you're so spot on. We really don't have to limit ourselves. And I
Right.
think if we have an idea, at any age, really,
Hmm.
I'm almost 50 years old and I'm thinking about, kind of the next phase of my life. What do I want to do to enhance my career? What do I want to do
Yeah.
to really enhance my life? But, there's so many more options out there. If we have an idea of what we like, what we enjoy, and even the converse, if we have an idea of what we don't like, I'm not an accounting math person. That is not my jam. So I knew that, okay, that's something I never really wanted to be in.
Right.
But I knew the things that I really liked. If we know what we like, there's so many avenues for us,
Yeah.
just by talking to other people, kind of getting an idea of, oh, this could be a career. Oh my gosh, I could get paid for this.
Right.
Cool. And it turns into something that you really love.
Exactly. And, the kind of message behind this whole podcast in general is passions and finding those passions and chasing them. And I love how you said, just like even learning more about what you're interested in or connecting with people that maybe are doing something similar, it opens up so many doors. And just like with technology these days, it's easier to communicate with people or just to like do a quick search like online or like on YouTube, even like, I like this. What can I find about it and see like what else is out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I truly, truly encourage people to do that. Talk to people,
Hmm.
conduct informational interviews.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it when somebody would call me and say, "Hey, Nance, I've got a kid that's going to college and is kind of interested in XYZ. Would you talk with him?" Or,
Hmm.
I was in a sorority at Central, and that network has really allowed me to talk to other young women
Yeah.
that have said, "I'm not real sure what I want to do, but here's what I like." But yeah, just have some conversations. passions, it will open up just tons of doors.
Definitely. And something else that you mentioned that I really liked was, you know, I think that a lot of young people get this idea like we have to know exactly what we want or what we want to do, but sometimes finding out or determining what you don't want, it leads you to finding out what you do want, if that makes sense.
Totally agreed.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so spot on. Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine if you grew up in like a family of attorneys?
Hmm.
Your parents were attorneys, your siblings, everybody in your family was involved in the law in some fashion. You may have thought naturally, okay, well, I guess I'm going to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't like the law. Maybe the idea of spending a couple years in school after undergrad isn't appealing to you.
Right.
If you know that that's something that you don't like and you're not passionate about, then don't do it.
Right.
Just don't do it. There are so many things out there to do. Who would have thought, 10 years ago that you could, well, first of all, that you could make a career, being a YouTuber.
Yeah.
But even when I went to college, quote unquote, back in the day, nonprofit it wasn't a course of study. There
Right.
was no major, in nonprofit administration. And now it is.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that there is, because I think the folks that are coming out of that, out of that major right now are so much more well versed and so much more, they kind of have so much more talent and skills when they start that first job than I did when I started.
Definitely. And I think that I'm 25. I just turned 25, and in my lifetime, growing up, maybe nonprofits weren't that talked about or weren't something that I knew too much about, but I feel like definitely like you're saying, there's so much more knowledge and information and majors and minors related that really helps kind of give that foundational framework that really helps someone that might be interested in nonprofits because there's so many awesome ones out there that do so many different great things.
Yes. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Even think about, so we're a generation apart,
Hmm.
technically, but when I grew up, nonprofit really wasn't a thing. It was charity.
Yeah.
And if you participated in any form of charity, there was almost that connotation of that you needed it, that you and your family weren't as financially stable perhaps as others,
Mm.
that you needed a hand up. There really wasn't like a world of volunteerism. That wasn't even a thing,
Yeah.
And now, and I'm guessing too, Zach, that you probably had to complete volunteer service hours to maybe graduate from high
Yep.
school, maybe graduate from college. If you were involved in a fraternity or an organization at Central, maybe you had to do volunteer service hours.
Definitely. And yeah, I think that, just the idea of volunteering and just taking more of like a social responsibility. I think that's just it's so much more important to people nowadays. And as, each year goes on, it's just something that we focus more on as a collective. And it's really cool to see because, any positive change in the world, it has to start somewhere. And I think we have the great potential and opportunity to be that positive change that we want to see in the world.
Totally. Absolutely. I know I'm agreeing with almost everything you say because I feel like we're on the same
We
page.
are.
But you're so right. Think of all of the good that charitable organizations and social consciousness, really has done for populations of people
Hmm.
that maybe didn't have a voice, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I used to work for Autism Speaks,
Right.
another fantastic organization, and I knew very little about autism when I started that job, and now incidence numbers are increasing. Sad to
Yeah.
say, but there's also so many more resources and services now for people, for men and women and kids living with autism, for their families. It's not necessarily, well, I'll take that back. It's a little bit more of kind of an accepted quote
Yeah.
disability, if you would. It's talked about more. It's not something that is people are ashamed of.
Right.
It's not something that is kind of kept, behind closed doors. It's really discussed, and I think that has helped individuals living with autism. It's also helped those of us that don't to see that group of people as, gosh, they have so many unbelievable
Yeah.
talents, so many unbelievable talents. I am blown away by some of the people that I had met that are working in full-time jobs as coders,
Yeah.
that are working in customer service, that work at the Jewel up the street, who are just lovely, lovely, lovely human beings.
Oh, I love that. I love hearing that and, your experiences. And Nancy, I think you're exactly right. Just having the conversations and bringing these kind of topics and maybe, populations or just, communities that maybe are either misunderstood or just depicted a certain way by, media and movies and stuff. Like just bringing light to those and just showing how, I mean, awesome and incredible people in general are and how much we have to offer. It's just really cool. And these conversations are what starts, change and movement and acceptance.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Yeah, there really does. It's one of those feel good moments,
Yeah.
I think, when for example, I went to the grocery store the other day, and there's a gentleman there who's been, working at Jewel forever. I mean, probably for 15
Okay.
years since I've been here. And he doesn't remember my name, but every now and then he'll remember something about
Yeah.
me, or maybe he likes sports, so we'll talk about sports. And sometimes that is the highlight of my day. When Ross asks me if I watch the Cubs game, and he remembers every play-by-play, he remembers everything in such incredible detail, from a Cubs game or a Bears game. And I think, man, you just made my whole day.
That's awesome.
That was great.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. And, kind of branching off that, I think that's something that, goes to say is it's the little things that are impactful in life and, those little moments, just an interaction with someone that's just so kind of just a genuine connection. It's just so nice.
Yeah, it is. And it helps form us as
Yeah.
people. I think it helps form us as professionals. It helps form us as leaders.
Hmm.
And I'm guessing too, Zach, you probably had some incredible mentors, leaders, friends, professors, through your high school and your
Yeah.
college days and even post college that really formed who you are.
Definitely. Definitely. Like wouldn't be where I'm at today or who I am today without a lot of those, support networks, whether it is professional mentors, professors, friends, family, and, just that human connection is so important, like you're saying. And I think that in a world where social media and technology is so rampant, and we live in a kind of fast-paced world where we're always like, what's next? What's next? It's important to slow down and just make those connections and, you know, go grab a cup of coffee with someone or, pick up the phone and give someone a call rather than just like shooting an email or text. Just that human connection can mean so much to someone.
Yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely. And especially, in this crazy pandemic
Hmm.
world that we're in now where, we're still, I know I'm working from home. I think you're at home
Yeah.
as well. And, the National MS Society, all my staff we're working from home. But to have the ability to sit down in front of somebody and meet and have coffee or have
Yeah.
lunch or have a cocktail, even meet in the park and sit on a bench. Number one is something that is so desired, especially at this time in our
Right.
world. But, think about all the things that you learn and you find out about somebody by meeting them in person or having an actual
Yeah.
conversation as opposed to sending a text. It's invaluable.
Exactly. I totally agree. And something I always like to say is, every single person, every single experience, interaction in your life, it's all an opportunity to learn. You just have to allow it and think
Hmm.
about it that way.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Do you think? I wonder. Do most people think that way? I don't know.
I don't know.
I hope. I hope
I
so.
would hope so, and I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I think I think if I had to take a stab at it, I would say no. And that's not really a fault of anyone. And I mean, I think that, in my 25 years of life, it took me a while to kind of get that perspective. I think it's easy for us to get caught up in our own worlds or just, you know, going through the motions, even like if, you and I were to meet up and, you know, get a drink or something, we might just be kind of doing something to check it off our list and like just, you know, being very surface level. So, I think we just have to change that perspective and realize, there's so many great opportunities to learn. We just have to be open to receiving those lessons.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's true. That's very true. I wonder how can we do that? I
Yeah.
think I don't know. How can we do that? But that's an interesting statement to make. We have to be open to
Hmm.
it. And I think so many of us talk about how, yes, we're wide open to new experiences and we want to do something different. But perhaps when it comes right down to it, what we really want to do is shut everything down and off and watch mindless
Right.
TV, for 3 hours or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. And certainly that's acceptable. There's got to be a good
Right.
balance there. But but yeah, it is kind of an interesting, just kind of an interesting thought of, are people really open to learning something new, or really open to kind of hearing a different perspective? I don't know. I hope
Yeah, I
so.
hope so too. And I think, I don't know, I think as I've gotten older and everything, I feel like there's more of a kind of emphasis about having kind of like that social awareness or emotional intelligence, like in the workplace or academically. And I think that as people are maybe tapping more into that consciousness, we're now kind of coming to the point where we are more open and just thinking on more of like a almost like a meta level with our thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Do you think it's generational?
I think I would say maybe a little bit, but also with the
Mm-hmm.
generations, I think, just more knowledge, more research, more technology comes out that makes it more available to learn about these things or to hold these conversations or even just have these conversations. Like I mean, I guess I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking like 10 years ago, I don't know if you and I would even be able to have this conversation right now.
No,
So it's
true.
kind of
That's
like,
very
and
true.
without this conversation, we wouldn't be having these kind of like thought-provoking, you know, words going back and forth. So I think it's just the accessibility is so much different now that as the
Yeah.
generations go on, it's just easier to have these kind of conversations.
Yeah. No, that's an excellent point. That is so, so true. Even, I'm thinking about like my
Hmm.
mom, who's 82, in amazing health, back in Livonia, where I know you grew up close by
Yep.
as well. Yes, my mom's 82, and bless her heart, she's going to outlive us all. But, technology is just not her
Right.
jam. That is not her thing. The computer she's had for, 15 years and doesn't work very well, and the internet service is kind of spotty. And but really, that's how she communicates: is telephone and email. She's not a texter. Her cell phone is from 1999. So really, to communicate with her, I've got two options: either on the phone or
Yeah.
email. Well, for me, like, I'm on email all day long, and the last thing that I want to do at 7 o'clock at night when I kind of shut it down is type out a 3-page
Right.
email. Or I can think about the time change. I can think about her schedule, and is she awake now, or where is she? And if I want to, pick up the phone and give her a call. So you're right. I think it is kind of a generational thing, that and the accessibility to really to technology to be able to communicate. Whereas if I want to talk to if I want to talk to my best buddy out in Colorado, I can text her at any time. I know she's going to get
Right.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just, and like learning the different ways to communicate and just, I think, just having that perspective also that whether it's a generational thing or there's like an age difference, just people have different styles of communication and just kind of like even that I think is something we can learn from others and kind of help us grow on our journeys.
That's true. And even just to be aware
Yeah.
of that, just to be aware of that. I know I get frustrated with my mom.
Hmm.
Sometimes I think, oh my gosh, can I buy you an iPhone? I will buy you an iPhone. I will show you how to use it. We'll get you something. Please let me just, shoot you a quick text and answer your question. And she doesn't want it. She's fighting it. So I need to be more, more cognizant of that. Conversely, a lot of the folks, or not a lot, but many of the people that I work with, just here in my market, and Alicia, our amazing
Yeah.
friend that we have in common, I find sometimes that, some people are just more apt to shoot a quick
Yeah.
text, and that's okay. Which again, I'm a big fan of, but sometimes it requires more of a conversation as opposed to a 3-word
Yeah.
text, or even using the phone. In fact, I said to a group of people the other day, if you want to get a hold of me, you can always call
Hmm.
me. And I don't think anybody ever calls me. We don't use the phone really to communicate so much
Right.
anymore. We use the phone to take pictures and, um, record music. And in fact, we're even having this conversation on an
Yeah.
app, which is on our phone.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely. And I think that's such a great point because, growing up throughout my life, I mean, I think it was maybe, I don't know, 10th grade or something when I first got texting. Texting was a thing before that, but my parents never wanted to, do the texting or anything like that. So it was just phone calls. But then texting kind of starts like becoming a thing, and that kind of took over the way that I communicated. And basically the rest of high school, all of college was kind of that, just text conversations. But as I've gotten older, I've started to really appreciate the value of having actual verbal conversations. So, picking up the phone and calling or, um, getting together in person, of course, when possible. But I think that that's something that it's almost like I feel like a lot of my peers, it brings them out of their comfort zone when I'm just like, hey, I have a question. I'm going to call you. And they're like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. No, just text me. I'm like, no, we're going to have a
Yes.
conversation.
Yes. Oh, and isn't that
Yeah.
so funny? Like that reaction of, why are you
Right.
calling me? Like, why are you
Yeah.
calling me? Send me a text.
Exactly.
Like, well, I want to hear your voice and I want to have a like a back and forth dialogue. How about
Exactly.
that?
Yeah, definitely. And like I've even got the responses of like, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong? You called me." And I was like, "Oh, nothing. Just on a lunch break, wanted to
Yes.
see how you're doing, or try to schedule some plans." And I think that real time communication and like we talked about earlier, just wanting to connect with people, and I think that verbally is the best way that we can do it. In this kind of digital landscape.
Yes. No, you're right. But that is so true. In fact, a friend of mine that I haven't heard from in ages called me
Okay.
last night. And when I saw her name come up on my phone, the first thing I thought of was bad,
Mm,
tragic, who
yeah.
died. And she said, no, I was just calling to say what's going on. And I really thought, no, she's going to tell me
Yeah.
something bad. I just know it. So I'm
Yeah.
waiting and waiting. No, she just wanted to pick up the phone and say hello. And I thought, shame on me, because my mind, like you,
Yeah.
it went to, oh my God, what's wrong?
Exactly.
Somebody who
Yeah.
died. Yeah.
Definitely. And okay, so Nancy, this is something that I've kind of gotten into the last year. So maybe this might be, if you aren't doing it already, this might be the new thing for you. Um,
Oh my gosh. If it's technology related, it will probably be new for
okay,
me. So tell
so
me.
it is tech related, but it's pretty simple. So I know that we've off the record we've chatted a bit, through text and everything. So I know you're an iPhone user as well. So what I
Yeah.
do is like I've just been sending audio messages straight, like iPhone to iPhone audio message where you can just like hold the microphone and
Oh,
or like the microphone button and then talk. And like I've just
yeah.
been doing that, whether it's maybe something more professional related or just like, hey, what day works for you to schedule something. I just think it's easier and it's more personable. And I also like just being able to maybe start cooking dinner and listen to what someone has to say. And like one friend in particular, uh, we live in different states, and we can't really catch up too often, but we typically send like one or two messages, audio messages a day, just like what happened in our day, just like maybe what's going on in our lives. And maybe it might be like a
Yeah.
8 to 10 minute message sometimes, but it's just to kind of keep in the loop. And it's a little better than just like reading a text, at least in my opinion.
Yes. Okay. I love that. I love that. Now, if we were sitting in the same room right now, I'd whip out my iPhone. I'd ask you to show me how to do that. But I will ask
Okay.
somebody to show me how to do that because I think that's
Yeah.
brilliant. I would love to hear, you're right. I would love to hear that vocal or that, that audio
Yeah.
message sometimes than to read a paragraph of the text message. You're right. I got other stuff to do. And yeah, shoot me a quick voice memo. Oh, that's awesome, Zach. I
Yeah,
love that.
definitely. So you'll have to let me know if you end up utilizing
Yeah.
it or if you can figure out it. I mean, I after our call, I can shoot you one and try to
Yeah.
explain it, and I'll be your test subject. I'll let you test it out. But
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
do that. I was gonna say, if you don't do that, then I'm gonna call Alicia and say, Alicia, Zach told me about this thing. Can you tell me how to do it? She's usually my like go-to
okay.
gal when it comes to tech stuff. And I'll say, Alicia, I'm old. I don't even know what this is. Can you
Yeah,
help me? And she'll say, oh yeah, Nancy, I'll help you.
that's awesome. Alicia's so wonderful. She's such a great person. So it's really cool that we were able to kind
She
of
is.
connect through her.
I know. That's so great. She is. I mean, she is sunshine in a
Yes.
bottle. She really is just sunshine in a bottle. So
Yeah.
passionate, so just so into her
Right.
role and her job and passionate and gosh, she's just great to talk
Definitely.
to.
Definitely agree. But Nancy,
Yeah.
something that I wanted to kind of ask you and pick your brain on a bit is, we kind of
Yeah.
talked about your kind of college experience and, you know, the medical school track to kind of
Mhm.
discovering a different passion with the nonprofits. But, thinking back, reflecting back, what is something that you would want to tell your past self or you'd want your past self to know that you know now?
Oh my gosh, Zachary, how long can this program be?
The floor is yours.
Because I could write a book. Oh, I could write a book. I could absolutely write a book on what I would love to tell my 17-year
Yeah.
old self, starting college. I was one of the young ones. Man, I could write a book, everything from it doesn't matter. What I loved about going to college and what I loved about going to Central is that all of the BS, stereotype tags that you had in high school of you were the cheerleader or
Hmm.
the jock or the smart kid or the quiet kid. I felt like a lot of those kind of went away when I went to
Yeah.
college. But new ones, kind of new ones bubbled up. So if I could talk to my, 17, 18-year-old self right now, and I'd say, you know what, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Try and be secure in
Yeah.
yourself. Believe in yourself, appreciate yourself for who you are. Just because somebody is, again, kind of that stereotype, that the smart one, I don't know, the smart one, the loud one, the
Hmm.
partier, the girl down the hall who was one of my closest friends, she always had a boyfriend and I never did. And I thought, oh my gosh, my life is over. And, it's
Right.
not. It's just not. I would love to tell, my younger self that all of the stuff that happens in college about, the boy that didn't ask you out or the grade that you wanted to get better or I don't know, the lunch lady that pissed you off. None of that stuff
Yeah.
matters. It just doesn't matter. You got to really kind of figure out who you are. You got to figure out what you like and again, what you don't like. And you've got to be strong. I wish I could have told myself to be a little bit more
Hmm.
confident in college, especially when I started to be assertive, to have a voice, to express my opinion and not be afraid that somebody was going to
Yeah.
disagree. Man, that would just be such a hugely, hugely valuable lesson.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, yeah. And again, what do you think? I mean, would you go back right now and kind of tell your 18-year-old self to do things differently or to pay attention to things more differently
Yeah,
or
that's a great question. And Nancy, I would say I'm kind of in the same boat as you with kind of your reflection. And I think that as I've gotten older, my mindset on things have shifted in the sense of, so right now I'm pursuing my master's, so I'm in my first year of grad school, and
yeah,
I've kind of come to the conclusion that I'm always going to try my best academically. I'm always going to want to do the best that I can, but if I get a B on a test, I'm not going to sit there for the next hour and tell myself that I'm dumb or that I failed or that I'm not good enough. And
right.
during high school and undergrad, I would be, mean to myself, or I would talk negatively to
Mm-hmm.
myself. So I think it's just kind of, you know, being comfortable with yourself. And I would tell myself, just it's okay. And, I'd say it's healthy to be your own biggest critic at times, but make sure that you give
Right.
yourself the same grace that you would give to someone else. So, like
Yes.
Nancy, if you told me like, oh my gosh, Zach, I forgot to respond to someone's email or, this or that happened, I would never sit here and be like, Nancy, how could you? You failed. You're dumb or whatever.
Right. You're a horrible
Exactly.
leader.
But the
Yeah.
second that I do the same exact thing, I would be so quick to say like, Zach, you're so dumb. You don't deserve to be a leader. Like this is,
Yeah.
XYZ that's wrong. So it's just the same way that you would talk to a friend or a loved one, talk to yourself that
Yes.
way and just understand that, we all have value and that
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to do or whatever you're passionate about, like that's like go for it, kind of like you're saying,
Yeah.
um, with like the kind of like the stereotypical roles kind of evaporate when you hit college. And I had a very similar experience where, there's still kind of, like you said, those different archetypes, if you will, but it's not the same
Yeah.
as in high school. But I
Yeah.
mean, even just knowing like thinking back to those days, maybe like the athletic, jock was kind of like the desirable, and even, still today is like the
Mm-hmm.
desirable personality or image. But it's like if you're super passionate about, musical theater or science or, photography, like
Yeah.
go for it, do what you love because life is too
Mm-hmm.
short to live a life where you're trying to please others or be someone that you're not.
Totally. Totally. That's going to be the first, 10 chapters
Yes.
of our book, Zach. Like, be your authentic self,
Yes.
and that's such a buzz phrase, right? Be authentic, be your authentic self. But yeah, do what you
Yeah.
gotta just, I don't know, be true to
Hmm.
yourself. It sounds so cliche and gosh, man, it's just phrases that are
Yeah.
thrown around, so often these days. But like you, I believe that if you have a passion for something,
Yeah.
try it. If you have a passion for something, 10 years from
Hmm.
now, try it. And know too that if you start off as an 18 or 19 or 23-year-old, if you start off going down one professional path or one passionate path, and you decide that's not for you,
Yeah.
change your mind. Go back to school, take a class, do
Yeah.
something different. And, you're going to find more passions as
Yeah.
you get older. As the world kind of opens up, I mean, specifically now, of course, during the pandemic, but, as your world kind of opens up as you grow older, you just find more things that you're interested in. I've spent my entire career in nonprofit, from day one, from that internship I had to take because it
Right.
was my last choice until this moment. My entire career's been in nonprofit, but I'm just finishing up a CNA
Okay.
class. So at the end of May, I'll be a licensed certified nursing
Wow.
assistant. I never thought in a million years that that would be something that I wanted to do, but I met a lovely woman a couple years ago, and I volunteered to kind of visit with her, and that turned into me learning how to care for
Yeah.
her. And when she passed away, I was there when she died, and I learned so much from her, and I thought, gosh, I
Right.
could do this. And I'm not going to leave my career in nonprofit. I'm not going to quit my job, but it's a skill set that I wanted to have. And it's something that I thought, you know what, down the road, if that's something I want to pursue, at least I have that skill set. But that's now kind of a newer passion for me. You're going to find more passions as you get
Definitely.
older.
And I think, just allowing ourselves to have those experiences and to get those skill sets, and even if it doesn't make sense in your mind with the current, situation or your current career path, it's kind of just things that you can put in your back pocket, and you never know when it might come out. Or even if it's not like, a career change, it might just be a fun way to spend your evening or your weekends, or just even to meet new people that have similar interests or similar passions.
Hmm. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah, and to your point,
Yeah.
try something different and
Hmm.
expand your horizons. And I love what you said about meeting, just about meeting different groups of people and different individuals. I'm also an extra. So I'm an extra and a background actor on the Chicago TV show. So Chicago PD, Chicago Med,
Right.
Chicago Fire. I've done a couple movies. And I did it just as a lark, something fun to do, make a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Yes, we do get paid, but yeah, very little. Seriously, it's like $11 an hour. So it's again nothing I'm
Right.
ever going to quit my day job over. But it's cool to see how TV
Yeah.
shows are made. But the people that I have met, I never in a million years would have met some of these people if I had not
Right.
done the TV shows. I did some volunteer work for a church on the South Side and did some grant writing because I met the pastor. She was an extra with me in a scene. And we started talking, and she said, our church is falling apart. We really need some help. And lovely, lovely lady. I wrote some grants. They got some money. I went to church, met her whole family. I
Yeah.
never would have met her if I wouldn't have done those TV shows. And it was such a cool
Oh
experience. I
my
loved
gosh, I
it.
love that. And I think it just, it goes to show that I know it might sound like cliche, but you just never know what life has in store for you.
Yeah.
That cooking class you've been wanting to go to for years, you might go and hate cooking and realize you never want to cook, professionally, or learn how to cook, but you might meet someone there that, you know,
Hmm.
changes your life, and you become best friends. Or they say, "Oh, I also love, I don't know, film or something," and then you connect over that. So you just never know
Yeah.
who or what you're going to experience in life. And I think that goes back to the just, every opportunity is an opportunity to learn. You just have to be open to experiencing it.
Hmm. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And keep in
Yeah,
touch with those people
definitely.
too. Yes, definitely keep in
Yeah,
touch. Like you and I, we'll
definitely.
keep in touch. And, you never know when something kind of crosses your path that you think, you know what, Nancy might
Yeah,
be interested in this, or I want to talk to her about this. And vice versa, when something comes across my path and I think, you know what, Zach would be great to loop into this. It just
it
expands our
does.
horizons and expands our knowledge, and you learn from each other. I have never in my life done a podcast. I have never listened to a
Okay.
podcast ever, ever. This is my
Wow,
first
I'm
one.
honored.
Yeah, the first one. So talk about expanding
Yeah.
your horizons. Yeah. So this is something now that I think I'll kind of learn a little bit more about. I'll subscribe
Well,
and I'll
thank you.
listen
I
to your
appreciate
podcast,
that.
Zach, because I yeah I wanna understand a little
Definitely. And
bit. That's a little
That's
embarrassing that I
okay.
just said that, though. Who's never heard of
Yeah,
podcasts?
no problem. I'm glad to be able to kind of introduce you to them. And, you know, I love this platform in the sense of, for anyone listening, and I kind of talk about this with the other episodes, like this conversation is completely organic, unscripted. Like we're just talking,
Yeah.
just as natural human beings would, connecting. And I think that's the
Oh,
cool
yeah.
part about podcasts. A lot of it, it's not forced or it's not, as edited as maybe other media that we consume. And, I think that it kind of leads me to another point that sparked when you said kind of just like to try things and put yourself out there and take that first step. Is I think a lot of people, we hold ourselves back because of that fear of like failure or imperfection. And I think for me, I've never done a podcast before. I've never hosted interviews or anything similar to this, before, but just kind of saying, who cares? Let me do it. I like talking to people. I like connecting. And, if one person listens to our conversation today, Nancy, and says something that they said resonated with me or something inspired me, then it's all worth it, just to be able to have that reach. It doesn't matter if it's one person or 100, thousand people. And just don't be afraid of putting yourself out there and realizing that you're not going to be an expert right away, or you're going to have some stumbling blocks. It's just all part of the process and the journey.
Exactly. Absolutely, exactly.
Hmm.
We learn so much from our
Definitely.
failures, don't we? We learn so much from mistakes, and we figure out what we want from learning what we
Exactly.
don't want. And yeah,
Thank
and
you.
good for you for starting this podcast. Now, what, I don't even think I asked you this, but what made you decide that you wanted to
Yeah,
do
so
this?
I've always loved kind of like the talk shows, like the Tonight Show, with Jay Leno and now Jimmy Fallon. So shout
Oh,
out to
yeah.
anyone that knows who Jay Leno is. Um,
Or if you know who
Yes,
Johnny
Johnny Carson
Carson
too.
is.
Another great one. But I've always liked those
Yes.
kind of hosts, and Ellen, James Corden, kind of more modern day ones. And I liked how they would just bring on a
Mhm.
guest and just kind of talk. And I'm sure there's production where they're answering and asking specific questions and stuff. But I always liked it in the sense of just
Oh, sure.
it felt like I was in a room with them, just like learning about these people. And I've always been passionate about kind of like self growth and learning and becoming the best that I can of myself. And I would like to listen to you know thought leaders or just people that are doing cool things about their experiences and perspectives. So I kind of just realized like I have been very fortunate to know and be surrounded by a lot of cool people who have done great things or are doing great things or chasing their passions. What if I can just bring them on and talk to them and also, meet new people and talk to them and hear their stories and just provide a platform, where people can share their experiences or just share with the world what they wish they would have known earlier in their lives. And just being able to do
Yeah.
that, I thought it'd be cool. And I figured what better time than now to go for it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Gosh, good for you. What an entrepreneurial, you've got such an entrepreneurial, give it a shot, let's
Thank
try
you.
it spirit, which is
Thank you.
very
No, I
admirable.
appreciate that. And I think that's kind of how I've always tried to be. And I think that with kind of that entrepreneurial spirit, there is those insecurities that come with it, like what if no one listens, what if no one likes it, what if it fails? And I think kind of like we just touched on a bit, like that's part of life. And I think life is as weird as it might sound, life is kind of about failure. And just like you're gonna fail 99 times out of 100, but that one success kind of makes it worth it. So just kind of
Hmm.
stumble through the dark until you find your way into the light, and just give it a shot, because you never know what will come out of it.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true. It reminds me of how parents would,
Hmm.
may speak with their children, or how I talk with my nieces and nephews when they were little of
Yeah.
just try it. Just try it.
Yeah.
Just try the broccoli. I know it looks weird, but just try it. You might like it. Um, and that I think that holds true
Hmm.
for us even as adults. I think we need to tell ourselves that every now and then of
Yeah.
just try it. Just try it. You've never tried Pilates,
Yeah.
Nancy? Just try it. It's not going to kill you. It's an hour out of your life. You might learn something. You might like it. Yeah, I think we
I
need to
totally
try more
agree. And I
things.
think, we're creatures of habit. So we like to get in our routines and,
Hmm.
not try new things. But it just, that mentality of just try it. I love that. And I think it's definitely something that anyone can start implementing at least a little bit more in their lives. And I think you'd truly be surprised by the experiences and outcomes that come from it.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true. Even if we, as we just talked about earlier, even if you try
Hmm.
something and you decide you don't like it, that's okay. Now you can
Yeah.
kind of check that off the list. One of the things I used to work or work at St.
Hmm.
Jude Children's Research Hospital, and one of the things my very favorite boss taught me was that no is an acceptable answer, because it gives you the chance to move on
Yeah.
and do something different. So, when I would approach a potential sponsor or a donor of some kind, and if they said no, I would get so down and so bummed, and I would go back and go back and go back and say, why? And, finally, Glenn, my boss said, you know what? Just take the no. Take the no.
Yeah.
That's okay. Then move on. Go to the next person on the list or go to the next, sponsor opportunity. And I think that's also a valuable lesson is,
Yeah.
no is okay. No gives you the chance to move on,
Right.
even though it's sad, in many cases and disappointing, but
I
that's
love that. I
okay.
think that's such a great point. It's we're most likely going to get a lot of no's in our life, and it's okay to be sad about it or to,
Mm-hmm.
think that, I wish I got the yes there, but no is completely acceptable. It's okay. And, there's always another opportunity or another, person you can connect with. So, just keep your head up and just keep going forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And learn something from it, and learn something from it. Because, what is the definition of insanity? It's repeating something over and over and
Right.
expecting a different outcome. So don't make yourself insane, by continuing down the same path or continuing to repeat yourself. If it's not working for you, you got to change something up. And I think that holds true in relationships and work, professional life, personal life. It doesn't matter. If it's not working for you, you got to change something. And we all
Yeah.
have the power to change ourselves, right? We're the only ones that can do it. We need help, but we're the
Right,
only ones
definitely.
that
I,
can do
I
it.
completely agree. And I think that when it comes to making those changes, something that's helped me in my life is just taking the time to sit with myself and reflect. So whether it's at the end of the day, before I go to bed, just like think back to the day and, I did this, it wasn't the outcome I wanted. How can I make the change? Or, something that I know it seems many people are kind of getting into, and I try to do a bit here and there is like journaling, writing down your thoughts or what you want to change or
Hmm.
things you want to work
Hmm.
on and just reflecting upon that and having that, space for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that is really helpful. It's also kind of interesting, and
Hmm.
maybe it'll be for you if you go back, 5 years and read, read some of the things that you
Yeah.
wrote at this time in your life to say, okay, did I make those changes? Am I happier? Am I
Right.
doing what I wanted to do? Am I repeating the same habits and expecting different outcomes? Yeah, that would
It
be kind
would,
of
yeah.
interesting
And
to
I
read.
like, having that perspective of, if you do journal or, do some sort of like diary or even just like something like this podcast, being able to listen or read something a few years later and just kind of see like I was at this place of my life at that time, now I'm here. What has changed? What hasn't? You know, am I still the same person?
Hmm.
I think it's just really interesting to kind of look at those perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just, yeah, and hope
Yeah,
that, you've kind of grown and, yeah, kind of grown and matured in many different ways. And yeah, I think that's an
definitely,
excellent
definitely.
practice.
So, Nancy, I'm curious, throughout your life or currently, do you have any kind of practices or things that you would say have helped you, kind of get to the place you are in life or help with the mindset that you have or the outlook that you have on life?
Gosh, what a great question. Get to where I am. I think that I'm
Okay.
thinking of kind of two different tracks,
Yeah.
kind of personal and professional. But professionally, I was given, I had some amazing supervisors. I had
Hmm.
some amazing bosses straight out of the gate, and that was really just the luck of the draw. But again, I had some amazing supervisors that really gave me chances to grow and to shine and to accept more responsibility, and saw something in me that that said to them, you know what, Nancy could be really good at this. I'm going to give her this chance to, take on some additional responsibility, or I'm going to highlight, her accomplishments to the higher ups, and, or I'm going to, try to get her a promotion. Um, so that helped. For me, it was the encouragement, and I think it was also having somebody like my supervisors at the time that really believed in what I was doing. Having somebody have that trust in me that I could not only get the job done, but maybe go above and beyond in some cases. Um, so that was helpful. Again, that was luck of the draw. That wasn't anything super genius that I did on my part, but I've always had
Yeah.
a pretty good work ethic, and I think that that's been helpful. When I got my very first job out of college, I worked for the American Red Cross in Midland, and I was a director level at the age of
Oh,
23. I had a lot to learn, and I worked with 300 CPR and first aid instructors that, for the most part, were quite a bit older than I was, and had lots more experience. But the work ethic that I had, I thought was very helpful to me. I spent a lot of time, kind of working late. I spent a lot of time talking to those people, asking them why did they volunteer with the Red Cross? What did they like about their volunteer experience? What could I do that would be helpful? What could I do that could be different, that could really kind of enhance their connection to the American Red Cross? And that helped. That certainly helped. And I think it helped kind of take my lack of experience and just put it in a
hmm.
different light, in many people's eyes. But really that work ethic, and I think now, now that we're in current times and it is kind of COVID world, we're all working so much
Yeah.
more and so much longer than I think we ever have before, because it's so easy to go from the dining room
Yeah.
office, quote unquote, to the couch office, to, taking the laptop to bed some nights and saying, I'm just going to bang out 5 more emails before I go to bed. I think I really do think there is some good in that. I think having a strong work ethic is critically important, but also
Yeah.
having that life balance, which again is sometimes such a cliche and cheesy phrase, but having that life balance, but really having that confidence in yourself and your abilities to
Yeah.
say, you know what, I'm done. I'm shutting it down and I'm done for the night. I think that has also kind of helped my career, maybe in the
Yeah.
last 10 to 15 years, to say, to either my colleagues or my supervisor or volunteers or, donors or sponsors or what have you, I'm sorry, I can't meet with you on a Saturday morning, or I'm not going to take your phone call on a Sunday evening at 7 o'clock. I'm happy to talk with you Monday morning at 8 o'clock. You can be my first phone call, but really kind of
Yes.
establishing those boundaries, I think, has helped to kind
Definitely.
of keep me sane. And then I think also kind of maybe shown a little respect, or have gained hopefully a little respect
Yeah,
in
no,
those
I
that work
love
with
that.
me.
So, it sounds like having that mentorship. So, connecting with people that are supportive and can help you, personally and professionally is a huge key. And then just having the work ethic to know, you have to put in the work and there might be a lot of learning. It might not be easy, but the results will come with hard work. And, I think something that you said that I really loved was just that it's okay and it's perfectly normal to set those healthy boundaries that we need in our lives to, keep ourselves
Mm-hmm.
sane and to have that balance that we deserve, right? Like sometimes I think we get caught up with like, I need to work, we need to hustle. And we kind of live in a culture now where I would say that's kind of a big focus, but just knowing that you deserve the break, you deserve that balance and that it's okay to, say, hey, I'm clocking out for the night, I'll respond first thing in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also shows, if
Hmm.
you work in any kind of a team environment, and I work in an amazing team, just an
Yeah.
awesome, awesome team here in Chicago. And, and I think it shows them too, like,
Right.
that I do have a life, that my entire existence is
Exactly.
not wrapped up in my job. And I hope that, it shows them that, or gives them a little bit, maybe kind of inches me
Yeah.
towards a little bit more respect, with folks too. And when I don't respond, sometimes at 11 o'clock at night, even though some people will, continue to work then. And if that
Right.
works for you, that's awesome. But That's not something I want to do right now, especially at this point in my career. I
Yeah.
think, you know what, I've done that.
Definitely,
I'm good.
definitely. And I
Yeah,
think that,
I'm
Nancy, that
good.
kind of comment kind of almost goes full circle to the beginning of our conversation in the sense of like, you know, we have lives outside of our professions or our titles. And, we sometimes do a bad job dissociating and, we're just like, I am my work, I
Hmm.
am my job, but realizing,
Hmm.
no, you're Nancy, I'm Zach, that's who we are. And we have to prioritize
Hmm.
those other aspects of our lives and things that are important to us as well.
Oh, totally. And I love what you said. Is that yeah, we do have lives
Hmm.
kind of outside the professional world, and I think that's really interesting too. Like I said, I've been in the professional world for I don't know
Right.
25, 27 years or so, and folks that I work with now, men and women that are that are kind of newer in their careers, I love it that they say, sometimes I really do love it when they say, "Hey, I've got a yoga class at 3 o'clock.
Hmm.
Like, are you cool if I go? But I've got a meeting at 7, so like I'll do my yoga class and I'll come back at 7 and I'm gonna log on for my meeting."
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Like, good for you. You know that that's what you need. I trust that you're gonna do your job to the best of your ability. You're gonna produce. If you want to take a yoga class at 3 o'clock, knock yourself out. I know that
Yeah.
you're going to be on your meeting at 7 o'clock, and I know that I can expect,
Right.
some feedback the next day or something. I respect that, and I think that Zach, perhaps people in your stage of life, you really do kind of come to the table with almost like a
Yeah.
built-in work-life balance of I've got a family, I'm going to volunteer, I'm going to take my yoga class, or I'm going to run every day at lunch, and it's not like you're necessarily asking for permission. They're kind of stating it as in order for me to be my full,
Hmm.
authentic, 100% self, I need to do this, and I
Yes.
hope that you're cool with it.
Definitely. I
I
think it's a
respect
great,
that.
perspective. And I think it kind of goes back to setting those healthy boundaries. Like this is what I need to perform at my best and to be authentic to who I am. So, please accept that, that I need that. Definitely.
Hmm. Yeah. Now, if it comes back where, yoga class turns into,
Yeah.
3 yoga classes three
Right.
times a day, and that's a
Yeah.
problem. If somebody isn't producing, or
Definitely.
meeting their goals, then that's certainly a problem. But yeah, again, for the most part, I really do have a lot of respect for kind of a different
Hmm.
population of people that I work with that almost kind of come with that built in of,
Yeah.
volunteerism is really important to me and
Definitely.
this is what I do. I love that. Whereas I think people that are a little bit closer to kind of my
Hmm.
work and professional experience, we're still in that, gosh, it's midnight. I probably
Yeah.
should jump back on my laptop and bang out that proposal. I think we have a
Definitely.
tougher time with
But
that
balance is so
balance.
important. So anyone that's listening, please find that balance or, try to learn what works best for you and know that whatever it is, that's completely okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Nancy, if anything that we've talked about today really like resonated with people or, they're just interested in the nonprofit world, is there any place that they'd possibly be able to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
please connect with me on LinkedIn or
Okay.
Facebook. I'm happy to connect with you or chat with you. Or, gosh, they can
Yeah.
always reach out to you, Zach, I'm guessing, and you've got all my contact info. More than happy to chat, talk with, connect, and hopefully, fingers crossed, soon, meet in person for coffee
Yeah,
or a
definitely. Well,
cocktail or
thank you,
lunch or
Nancy,
what
for
have you.
that. I
Yeah.
will, put like a link to your LinkedIn and all that good stuff in the description of the episode so people can check that out. Or like Nancy said, contact me directly and I can get you connected. But I appreciate your willingness to chat with people. And, I've had such great conversations with Nancy, now and off off the record. So, just such a wonderful person with such great perspective on life and experiences. Um, yeah, of course.
Oh,
So, Nancy, I guess I'll end it by saying, is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with? Any last thoughts, any last message or anything?
yeah. Something that, again, Glenn, my first boss, shared with me. He said,
Mm,
never limit your options. Don't limit your options. There's so much out there to do and experience, and so many other passions to figure out that you don't even know about yet. So just keep your
never
options
limit your
open.
options. I love that. Definitely a great way to end this and a great message. And, Nancy, I just thank you so much for your time. I feel very grateful to have the opportunity to sit down and chat with you today.
Oh, well, thank you, Zach. It's my pleasure. Truly, my first podcast. So thank you for allowing me to have this
Of
experience with you.
course,
It's been a
I'm
great,
glad you
great
enjoyed
time.
it. And hey, who knows? Maybe we'll get you hooked onto podcasts and we'll have to have you come back for a part two sometime. There we go.
We'll do a follow up of all the podcasts that
I
Nancy has
love it.
listened to.
Awesome. Well, Nancy, thank
Sure.
you so much. You have a good rest of your day.